All right, and that's a wrap to Oklahoma's CHAMP U BBQ weekend, the biggest weekend of the year for Oklahoma football recruiting, and the returns are high. So before we jump into it, Jay, what's going on? How are you?
PG, what's going on, man? We got a lot of good stuff going on right now.
It sounds like the CHAMP U BBQ this year was a success, but I don't know what else we would have expected because every year this is a success for Oklahoma. But as we heard from at least one guy, but probably multiple recruits, Oklahoma goes hard on this weekend. This is the weekend that they really put a lot of effort into.
Yeah, this one and then the party coming up at the end of July are probably the two biggest ones where Oklahoma really puts the pedal to the metal, for lack of better terms, when it comes to, and the full court press is really pressed on these recruits. So you usually have the bigger visit list, and yeah, these are usually the ones that are the most likely to commit. Is usually the last two weekends.
Yeah. I'm just kind of sad that we're not getting pictures of the barbecue. It's almost like Oklahoma football is afraid of posting pictures of their meat since the Lincoln Riley was here because they don't want to get made fun of for dry meat. So, but looking at this list of visitors this week in Oklahoma, they had an elite set here, and it was probably headed by the five-star offensive tackle Andrew Babalola, but then really close right behind him, you had Max Granville, Smith Orogbo, Christian Jones, Brandon Brown, who is actually currently committed to Texas. But you had some uncommitted guys on campus this week that a lot of people were looking forward to. Specifically, just to give you a heads up, in the last video, I talked about Brandon Brown, Andrew Babalola, and Emmanuel Choice as three prospects for everybody to watch. I would say 2 out of the 3 appeared to be getting some good news. So early returns, what are you hearing about this weekend for Oklahoma?
It sounds like Oklahoma has done a really good job of building those relationships and showing that they're serious about their pursuits. And so we've seen all the crystal balls flying out, and those are probably the best ones to talk about. I got a video coming out also, if you haven't checked it on my channel, diving into this as well. But it appears that you're seeing some good returns with Max Granville, the edge that, I'm going to be absolutely honest, when he came to the junior day back in January, I made a video and told y'all he was a must get. Y'all thought I was playing. Obviously, I wasn't. This was no joke, no laughing matter. Kid, very versatile. Is probably going to play edge, but can go between linebacker and safety. I mean, he's track, hurdles. He can play a lot of your Isaiah type Simmons roles, right? He can be a cheetah that rushes, right? Think Kendall Dobie, but a lot bigger and probably faster. Kendall Dobie's a monster. Love him to death. He's come on the show and talked. Granville's a little different, right? So he gives Miguel Chavis another edge that puts him in very good territory. And then, of course, Manny Choice, Emmett Jones just does what he does best. So we may as well just go ahead and figure out ways to get that man another raise anyway, because he's just going to continue to rack up them wide receivers like Infinity Stones. I'm sensing we're probably going to try to push for 5. May mean that we're going to lose some players come December, but in EJ we trust around these streets, right? And then, you still got the local guy, CJ Nixon, that we were waiting. He has 2 teams on his list. We're waiting for him to figure out where he wants to go. And outside of that, offensive line recruitment, it sounds like that's going really good with some of the big name players that pulled up last week. So Oklahoma is showing people that they for real, right? We're watching Alabama go through a ton of commitments over the last 2 days. Hopefully we'll see the same this coming week.
Yeah, I would expect Oklahoma's probably going to see anywhere between 3 to 5 commits probably over the next week and a half, 2 weeks. The returns were very high, and you talked about Max Granville, and this is a guy that when you watch him on film, he's got a lot of explosion. This is a guy that you absolutely want to have on your team, and he's a guy that probably is a starter for you after his first year being on campus. Max Granville is that type of player, but he's not the only defensive end you had on campus. You also had Smith Orogbo, who I was really high on, and I know a lot of people are saying Texas Tech and Texas, but I didn't really think there was a leader in this recruitment going into this weekend. So I thought we had a good chance there with Smith or Rogbo, and maybe moving Nixon over to tight end a little bit because that's some of the rumors that we've heard. But I think Oklahoma's got some good momentum trying to finish up the rest of this class. So we were kind of talking about it earlier this morning in the green room about what Oklahoma's class could look like, aiming somewhere probably in the 23 to 25 commit range. And, kind of looking at it, I was thinking you get Max Granville, you get CJ Nixon, Omarion Robinson, Cade Petchak, Emmanuel Choice, Darius Afalava, Cortez Mills, and then Andrew Babalola. That puts you at 24 commits.
I'm sensing that you're going to probably see in the next 2 weeks about between 7 and 8 commits, right? We're on track for that. We've got a few upcoming late June, July commits. I mean, July 1st, June 28th, July 4th, right? You've got a good list of players deciding to do that. You've got some that's probably going to commit in the next week. They may wait to the end of the summer. We've got, like, Babalola is one good example. He wants to have it done. I think him and Haywood wants to have it done before the senior year, so they can focus on that. So, yeah, there's multiples here. And so I'm sensing that we're going to see what we typically see here with this recruiting with this staff is a lot of commitments coming in the July area. So the class is probably going to be rounded out around then. We may still maintain in the hunt for maybe 2 players up until signing day. We'll continue to, recruit our guys all the way till then. But I'm sensing that by December, I say actually by August, we'll probably have the vast majority of the players that we want already in class.
Yeah, now, Andrew Babalola is an interesting one that you had on campus this weekend. We were talking about this earlier, and I said, it seems like Oklahoma did a lot this weekend for him. He crystal balled or future casted RPM, whatever you call it, to end up at Stanford from Steve Wiltfong. What are your thoughts, and what are you hearing on Andrew Babalola? Because I feel like if you land him as a 5-star offensive tackle, 6'6", 280, I feel like it's going to be pretty hard to pull in another 5-star at that point.
I haven't seen much on the public side with Babalola. I know he really likes Oklahoma. Big thing with the family that I have seen that's come out is that academics is the family's main thing, right? That's why Michigan, that's why Stanford are both in the mix for him. And the challenge Oklahoma sees with this is that, former Sooner Sharon Moore is head coaching at Michigan, has produced 2 Joe Moore award-winning lines, sending a lot of his linemen to the league. And academically, Michigan is up there very high on the academic side, right? So the big challenge that Oklahoma has is, really showing not only that academically we can do what needs to be done, but also development-wise to go pro, right? Michigan has that. They have both academics as well as the development, track record. Stanford has the academics, decent track record of offensive linemen going pro. I mean, it's not bad. It's not the best, but they are in the mix of sending offensive linemen pro. Oklahoma has also done a good job with that. Walter Rouse transferred here from Stanford, and boom, we've got him going pro as well. And Beatonbow has a history of that track record with development. And so, heck, if anything, man, I'd just send him a picture of Tyler Guyton. Actually, all 3 of them. I just send him a picture of Tyler Guyton's, original rank and show him where he got drafted. Just send it out to everybody, and eventually they'll figure it out.
Yeah, now, looking at this offensive line and these 5 stars that we've been talking about. And some of these guys necessarily weren't on campus, but you just had Lamont Rogers on this past weekend. Seems like Oklahoma did a lot there. We've been talking about that in the Discord for a week now, and it seems like Oklahoma at this point, they might be contending to lead for that recruitment. But then you got Michael Fasuzi, who was just on campus last weekend, on campus this week for Texas. That's the one that I've kind of looked at and said, nah, he's going to be a Sooner. That's the 5-star offensive lineman that you land. So I was talking to you about this earlier. I said there's a lot of optimism, I feel like, out there, hopium, that we're going to get maybe 2 5-star offensive linemen. But I said I after seeing what happened last year with the 5-star defensive lineman that we all said we were going to get, it makes me hesitant to think we could land 2 of these guys. Obviously, with Babaloa, it doesn't seem like NIL is the driving factor there because, well, Stanford would not be competing with Michigan and Oklahoma in the NIL space if that was the case. But Fasusi, you feel like that one's an NIL battle. Feels like you're out on Ty Haywood, even though Ty Haywood says you're a finalist in his recruitment. How many 5-stars does Oklahoma land?
Oh, I can't tell you that answer. That's not something that's even possible to even give, right? We hope that we can compete for 2 of them. And it looks like we are in, not going to say the driver's seat, but we're in the car when it comes to 2 of them, right? I think Babalola as well as Fasusi, we are in the mix. I mean, Fasusi has posted, his love, and articles have talked about his love for beating Bo and what he does and all of that. So it sounds like there's a relationship there. I can't give a prediction on 5-star is going to 5-star. We just got to wait and see if they decide that they want to play in the sandbox with us or not. Now, the thing is, I'm going to be 100% honest here. I don't think NIL is going to have anything to do with if we win or lose any of these players. I think we're going to play in that sandbox. The question, and it's not going to be we only want so much. No. I think we want to go end to end, compete with everybody else when it comes to the money space. The question is going to be where the player truly prefers to play. I don't think that it's a situation where we're not going to try and compete for that. We want these dudes. And this was the class that we talked about last year that Oklahoma was really focused on offensive line-wise, especially tackle-wise, because there's 4 basically 5-star tackles in this class right now. That tells you that they're like, no. I think that's where the true talent is. We want that. So I'll say this. Once we get our 26 quarterback in line, because it looks like everybody's getting a commitment from a 26 quarterback, I think that's going to help very heavily in our 25 offensive line recruitment. I say that because they're going to be the most likely the ones protecting him once that quarterback, whomever they may be, makes their decision.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. That quarterback that everybody keeps predicting, he's going to Oregon or Ohio State. Those
probably so, but that's not my point. My point is everybody's getting their 26 quarterbacks now, and since that's the case, I sense we're going to do the exact same thing.
We might.
That's going to be the person that's going to be pulling in some of these 25 offensive linemen if we don't get the offensive linemen to commit before them.
We might. We'll have to see. So wide receiver, we were talking about this one earlier. You had Emmanuel Choice on this week, but you had Cortez Mills in last weekend. Seems like you're seemingly out on Andrew Marsh, and it looks like Quincy Porter going to Ohio State. You're out on that one too. Now, Oklahoma's got FutureCast crystal balls and RPMs in favor of them for both Cortez Mills and Emmanuel Choice. Jay, I think it's absolutely crazy that Oklahoma might take 5 wide receivers in this class, because your wide receiver room is, it's loaded. And I think there's a chance Andrell Anthony returns if he does not play this year. So what's your thoughts on the wide receiver thing? Because I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that Oklahoma can take 2 more wide receivers.
I don't see Oklahoma I don't see Oklahoma taking less than 5 wide receivers this class. It feels like Emmett Jones is on a heater. He has an idea who he wants, and it appears that there's a mutual love for and respect for him, right? If Oklahoma can land, we've seen the crystal balls from Manny Choice, we've seen the crystal balls from Mills. If he can add those 2 to the class, that gets you 5. I don't think he's done at that point. And I say that because if things go well for Oklahoma this season, if Jackson Arnold goes out there and gets you 3,500 yards in passing, in which we anticipate between 35 and 4,000 because of the way Seth Luttrell plays the game, if he gets you those yards, there's a good chance that you lose 3 wide receivers into the draft that could potentially end up day 1 and day 2 conversations, right? We all know Deion Burks has been in the conversation of a sleeper for day 1. Nick Anderson, if he pulls up another Nick 6 season, he's going to be in that conversation. Andrew Anthony's probably back closer to SEC play. If he goes and shows out, that's another dude that's going to end up getting drafted. Jalil Farouk's gone after this year. That's 4 wide receivers right there. And then the question is what does Jaden Gibson look like? Or does Jaden Gibson come back one more year? And then you have him, Petaway, and you start to work your younger wide receivers in as well as bringing in a bigger class. It makes sense to bring more dudes. Kind of need them, right? You're going to start needing bodies. There's a good chance 4 wide receivers are gone next year. So getting 5 or more, it's actually not a bad idea this cycle around. Now, next year, it's a situation where we're convincing people to hit the portal. I don't see them doing that. I think that Emmett is very meticulous about who he takes, similar to the way Ohio State does things. Now, if the player feels like they should be playing more, it's a different story. In that situation, you may see somebody transfer. But, yeah, I think that's what we're going to see out of this is that Emmett Jones feels like this particular guy is probably better than another. You may see somebody hit the portal, but outside of that, you may actually see at least 5 dudes pull up in this class.
Yeah, now looking to end this weekend, people want to know, who do we think is going to commit from the CHAMP U BBQ? I think out of the list of uncommitted visitors from the CHAMP U BBQ, you probably get Manuel Choice, Max Granville. You probably get CJ Nixon. I feel like it's time for that one to wrap up. We've all been waiting a couple months for that one. I think you get a Marion Robinson, and I think you get Andrew Babalola. Is that something you agree with, or would you change something there?
I would probably. Ooh, man. No, I think you're spot on there. I don't think that as I'm thinking about it and thinking about all the players that have potential, I think you're about spot on there. I don't think that that's too far-fetched to believe.
And for the nerds in the chat that like to nerd out with me on this one, that would put you at 21 commits. As of right now, a 263.88 composite score, which would give Oklahoma the number 3 class, just right behind Alabama. Obviously, we know that stuff's going to change. People are going to get more commits. But that's the most ideal situation for Oklahoma. And that's not talking about last week's commits that haven't popped off yet that we're kind of waiting on. So
we got a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, we got a couple of commits floating out there we're just waiting on. So, all right, Jay, where can everybody find you at? I know you got a stream.
You can find me
tonight,
here on the YouTubes at Unfair Sports. You can also search for my recruiting channel, Sooner or Later Sports, and find me wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. Thanks, PG, for having me.
Thanks for coming on. If you guys made it this far, make sure you guys hit that like and you guys hit that subscribe button.